Well, good morning, everybody. Hello and welcome in on Thursday here with Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. I'm John Longshore. He's Barry McKnight. And from what the chat line's telling us early this morning, Barry, and I haven't been outside yet, but
Me
it seems
neither.
to be the coldest morning of the year. We're only 9 days in.
It's notorious for me. I was born and raised in Florida and never pay attention to the weather. Anytime
Yeah.
we go on the road for something, I always dress terribly and everything. So I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know, I knew it was cold yesterday. And all of a sudden this morning, everybody's saying, hey, man, Chris the Bammer says, hey, it's a bit nippy today, fellas. I'm thinking, is it really? And so I look at my little weather app, and in Troy, Alabama, right now, it's 25 degrees.
Yeah.
Wind gusts today up to 13 miles per hour. It's John's favorite
Wind gust.
meteorological
Yeah.
phenomenon is wind chills. Cold out there.
Yeah, they say
Be
it is
careful.
25
Yeah.
degrees today. That's what the chat line's telling me. And good morning,
Yeah.
everybody. Appreciate everybody with a
Yep.
good morning and a hello to kick things off here with Longshore and McKnight. And man, a lot to discuss. We got a college football semifinal playoff game tonight. That seems kind of odd for a Thursday, but that's the way it falls on the calendar.
Yeah, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish against the Penn State Nittany Lions. John has given his stamp of approval. These are blue bloods, and therefore they are indeed worthy of appearing on his television screen tonight for his amusement. If it was something like SMU or Boise State, John would be grumpy. John would be a little bit ill at ease about it. But it's Notre Dame versus Penn State, two blue bloods, and I don't know that they've ever played before.
I was wondering, they're not far apart geographically.
No.
But I wondered that too. I thought, you just don't hear about Notre Dame and Penn State playing very often. And, Penn State was an independent for quite some time. Maybe they played during that era. I need to look it up, but I really just don't recall a lot of Notre Dame Penn State games.
I don't either. Notre Dame, of course, famous for basically just playing anybody.
Yeah.
Blue-blooded. So no, I don't know. As of right now, and we'll give you the particulars. As of right now in that matchup, Notre Dame, and again, it's in Miami.
Yep. Weather should be nice.
Yeah. Notre Dame is a 1-point favorite. Which
I'm going to go ahead and just tell you right off the jump, I will be predicting tonight's and tomorrow night's game. Or excuse me, I'm doing it for a favor for the Phantom. He's having some travel issues. There's some weather up north of us. So I'm going to do it for the Phantom today because I know who he likes tonight and tomorrow. But he did inform me that tomorrow he will have a full report on the NFL wildcard weekend. So don't fret. But today, I'll give you the Phantom's predictions.
Yeah.
We'll do it full bore tomorrow with the NFL.
Now, what this usually means is when the Phantom has travel issues, that means his Lincoln Aviator, he doesn't want to get it out because there's salt on the ice out there, and he doesn't want to get it on the undercarriage.
Correct.
I'm not doing it. I'm not getting it out of there. So
yes.
Well, as it turns out, Notre Dame and Penn State have met 9 times. Every time I say 9 times, I'm thinking of Principal Rooney.
Sure.
Ferris has skipped school 9 times. 9 times? 9 times.
Did it actually change as Mr. Rooney was looking at the screen?
As it goes down and down and down, Ferris Bueller says, I asked for a car for my birthday. I got a computer.
Yeah. How can I be expected to go to school on a day like today? Now, I used that a lot when I was in high school.
The problem I ever had with that movie, well, John was too young when it came out, and he didn't know that he could actually file a lawsuit for character infringement. Hey, you're telling my life story, and I didn't give you permission. From Longshore to Bueller, come on, you got to come up with better. Last time they've met 19 times.
Okay.
overall. Notre Dame has won 9. Penn State has won 9. And there is one tie. Last time they met was 17 years ago in State College, and Penn State won it 31-10. They have never met. Well, no, they did. 1976, they met in the Gator Bowl, and
Wow.
won that one.
76. That must have been a down year because Alabama played UCLA in the Liberty Bowl in 76, if I'm not mistaken. Who won the Natty that year? I must have been the Oklahoma National Championship.
Alabama won it the next year. So, yeah,
They
that's
did.
tonight. That's this evening. Make your plans. It's going to be
6:30?
6:30 this evening, 6:30 Central on ESPN, Hard Rock Stadium with Sean McDonough, Greg McElroy. All hail Greg McElroy. He's doing a national semifinal. That's pretty good. Katie George, Molly McGrath. So that's going to be one. And it is on a Thursday. Not exactly the marquee time, Thursday night and all, but but it's a it's a feature event. Tomorrow night, Friday night, same deal, 6:30 ESPN. Ohio State and Texas. Think that'll be a better game. Although, I mean, a more interesting game. I don't know about competitive because, again, when the stars align, every once in a while, John and I agree on something. Doesn't happen often. Doesn't happen often that we're even close on agreeing with something. But John and I both agree Ohio State's the best looking team out there right now. So I like Ohio State in that one. But that one is going to be that one might be more interesting, more chills and spills, more big plays, more highlights than Penn State versus Notre Dame.
I'm not sure how they determine who the home team is in these games. In terms of jerseys, I'm just hoping Ohio State doesn't go all red again. Maybe they will because they played so well in them against Tennessee. But I just did not like that all red combination. But heck, if they win, I really guess it doesn't really matter.
Well, no, I mean, it matters. I was on a I don't know how I got to this. Maybe it was on Twitter, where some Ohio State fans. Yeah, it was a little feature somebody had written on the Ohio State fans, and they ain't happy. They want they're like a certain other fan base. Well, two other certain fan bases that happen to be in this state. They want scarlet jerseys. They want silver helmets. They want silver breeches.
Okay.
When they're at home, I'm sorry, when they're on the road, they want white jerseys. None of this black stuff. None of these red helmets. None of these black pants or anything like that.
So does Ohio State, are they like LSU? Do they wear white at home?
No, they white on the road. I think, heck, I don't ever.
Yeah, I know you said that. I'm thinking, what? They do seem to wear white a lot.
A lot, yeah. It's kind of like,
But I speaking of LSU, I didn't really like those uniforms they had in that bowl game they played a week or so ago.
No,
the combination didn't do much for me.
Never have liked LSU's helmets anyway. With the little
they're a little busy.
It looks like you got electrical tape spelling out LSU. They got the managers getting electrical tape putting out. Anyway,
got a lot going on.
Don't want to get
that
caught
helmet
in uniforms. That's for the summer when John and I believe we can go an entire show talking about uniform combinations. That's football. And of course, there's also, I mean, it's one of the last great weekends of football.
Oh,
it's kind of sad because there's only 3 college games left.
But I tell you, Barry, we talked about it yesterday. We talked about it on TV last night. I'm getting a little fatigued. I mean, this thing's dragging on. And,
fatigued.
Maybe if Auburn or Alabama were still in the playoff, maybe we wouldn't be fatigued. But I'm thinking, man, this thing's dragging out. I mean, gee whiz. I mean, the conference championship weekend till now seems like it's been 6 months.
Let me take a timeout. Ref, timeout. This man who has been
Yeah.
pounding the gavel for years saying we need a playoff. We need an expanded playoff. I'd be okay with 4, but we really need whatever, 12 or 16.
Yeah.
Now, and now all of a sudden we get to a 12 team. John's still lobbying
Oh,
for
more.
16 teams.
Oh, yeah.
But now he's saying, it's too long. It's taking too much. It's taking too much time.
That's two different
discussions.
discussions.
Ohio State comes into this game having played 14 games.
Yeah.
They win this one, that'll be their 15th. And if they win the national championship, that'll be 16 games. They would end the year as a champion. They would end the year at 14-2.
14-2.
John, there's no way around that.
And just for the record, that's one less game than the state champion in high school football played this year in Alabama, but we don't want to get off on that tangent either.
That's too
So here's my deal. I don't have a problem with 16. You know me, I'm in. Yeah, let's let everybody, I'm very liberal when it comes to letting people get into the playoff. A couple of things, though. You got to seed them better because all these, wannabes that get in, all these people we're letting in, we need them to knock each other off early. They don't need to be, dragging on through this playoff.
Coming up the works with
and
the
watering
Penn
it down.
States
We're going to pat them on the back and say, hey, we let you in. Now you go knock each other out in week 1. Number 2, they got to find a better schedule. I know they're all afraid of the big bad NFL. I get that. But they got to come up with a better way to do it. And if it means starting the season in late August, week 0, as they call it, and everybody plays that week, okay, so be it. If it means that maybe we need to really seriously think about eliminating the conference championship games, which I think is extremely difficult to do, but I think it would ease things up a lot in terms of scheduling, maybe so. But the long breaks in between games, you got to play sooner. As they've said, gee whiz, these are college kids. They bounce back really quick. They don't need this much downtime. I'm not arguing with that. I was a college kid one day. You were too. I could bounce back pretty quick. Too long, way too much space. Got to condense it.
Remember those halcyon days down at Panama City Beach, spring break, after an eventful night at Spinnaker's? John's up the next night. Let's go. All right, what are we going tonight? What do we got?
Sure.
Club La Vila? Everybody's like, John, man.
Anybody want to go down to Fort Walton and go to Cash's Faux Pas tonight?
Yeah,
I'm in.
Happy hour at 5.
Yeah.
John, you were a machine last night. Oh yeah, hey man, let's go. Yeah, John could bounce back. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
That means they all could. So
I just don't. I don't think the scheduling is very good. Now, okay. What do you say? Because I know somebody's probably screaming on the chat line about it because we have opened up today's program and yet have talked about Alabama's win on the road at South Carolina.
Yeah.
And as we go to break, before we can get back and we'll break it down even further, I'm just going to leave you with this. I mean, I know it's a cheap way of giving an opinion on a game, but is South Carolina any good? I mean, I don't want to take anything away from Bama's dominating road win, but woo.
You're going to hear that a lot from him this year. You hear a lot from him every year anyway, but you're going to hear you're going to hear that phrase a lot from him this year because Alabama's going to beat a lot of teams bad. And also, you're going to hear the response from me to that over and over again this year because, yes, they are good. South Carolina is good. South Carolina is good. The problem is, compared to the rest of the SEC, they're not. We'll talk about that. And you can already tell from John's opening statement that Alabama won the game. I'll give you the score a little bit later on, but when his first comment is South Carolina really any good? That means Alabama won.
And I know that's kind of what's the right phrase I'm looking for here? I want to use something better than cheap. It's a cheap way of explaining a game. Or
Yes.
it's kind of taken away from the success of the team that won. How about
That's
that?
true. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly right. John is one of those who also says anytime you get in the stands and all the students are saying overrated, isn't that dissing your own self? Hey, if you lost to us, you definitely must not be very good. I never could figure that out either. So we've got things underway here.
Oh, we do.
Thursday show, John. We have got
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot
Let's
of
check out the
fresh
guest list
faces
today.
and fresh voices on the program.
Jason Caldwell, Auburn Undercover. In about 15 minutes, we'll check in on the Tigers with Jason. Rodney Orr, the Tiger Insider, which is brought to you exclusively by our friends at the Destin Connection Seafood Market, 3750 Norman Bridge Road, 288-4272. Call ahead. Your order will be ready for pickup. And our resident basketball expert, Bart Heish, will join us at the bottom of hour number 2 to talk some SEC hoops today. Looking forward to that.
He can truly answer the question.
Yep.
Is South Carolina any good? That's coming up as well here with Longshore and McKnight. Again, he's John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight in association with Yellowhammer News. It's Longshore and McKnight presented by Bud Light.
Hey, folks, you got to take advantage of the incredible holiday savings at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where they sell America's best-selling truck for 50 years in a row, the F-150. And you can get an F-150 at 1.9% APR for 60 months or up to $15,000 off MSRP and no payments for 90 days. Hundreds to choose from. Your F-150 is on the lot right now. Also, F-150 Lightnings, $15,000 off MSRP and 0% APR for 72 months. What about the stylish Ford Bronco? Up to $10,000 off MSRP, starting as low as $34,990. And it started it all with the Ford Explorer. You can get one for up to $8,000 off MSRP, as low as $33,900 and 1.9% APR for 66 months. Folks, Stivers Ford is loaded with cars, trucks, and SUVs priced to sell. Stivers Ford, 4000 Eastern Boulevard in Montgomery, where price sells cars.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Phoenix Physical Therapy is ready to help patients recover, recharge, and rise. They develop a customized therapy plan for each patient to get them back to enjoying their favorite activities. Their experienced team is committed to providing exceptional care in a professional environment. Whether you're looking to prevent or treat an injury, recover from a recent illness, or recuperate from surgery, schedule an appointment with our clinic and take advantage of our physical therapy, athletic training, workers' comp, and employer solutions service. Experience elevated physical therapy today. Call Phoenix Physical Therapy at 239-9316. That's 239-9316.
Okay, about 18 minutes past the hour on this Thursday. Glad you're with us here today. Of course, check us out at yellowhammernews.com. Also, we're on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, you name it. We are there for you. You can check us out at your convenience 24 hours a day. Really appreciate that. And of course, every afternoon on Yellowhammer News, you can check a little recap, synopsis of what our program was about, and some video content on that as well. So be checking that out at yellowhammernews.com. There's also a little piece you might want to see on Yellowhammer News about the Alabama Sportscaster of the Year. And Dennis Mitchell. I mean, Dennis Mitchell has so many topics today, Barry. He had to chat 3 different times this morning.
Yeah, he packs a lot into each one of them too. He says,
"Oh yeah,
Barry, congrats on being the Alabama Sportscaster of the Year, richly deserved. Thank you.
Yes.
Could Matt Soup Campbell be the next coach Chicago Bears? I hear he's interviewing for that job. And also, do you remember when Jim Ross had Bell's palsy? Dennis, who doesn't?
Yeah.
You know? Anybody, we can all get together, get on the chat line with us, and let's share our remembrances of where you were when you first heard that Jim Ross had Bell's palsy. All right, go ahead and get that started out there.
Yeah. And Jim
Dennis-
Cornette spit in Ed Ferrero's face that night?
Oh,
A little
yeah.
bit further down? Oh, man.
Ed Ferrario, the writer on WCW with Vince Russo, that did character Oklahoma. 2001, Jim Cornette was upset and confronted Ed in Nashville that the late Prentice did promote there that night. Jim Cornette spit in Ed Ferrara's face that night. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Folks, this is why Dennis Mitchell has a Lifetime Achievement Award winner. The only one, as a matter of fact,
unbelievable
on this program.
Dennis, every day.
Keep it coming. William says Grace pulled 6 pencils out of her hair in that gag in Principal Rooney's office. Was it just 6?
It was funny because I think the lady who played that role, her name is Edie McClurg, and she's been a lot of things, most notably as Grace, the office assistant in Ferris Bueller, but William knows this as well. She was also the ticket booth lady in the airport in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles when Steve Martin lost his mind and everything.
She also, Barry, was in the first Cheech and Chong movie, Up in Smoke.
Was she?
No, she was.
Okay. Anyway, but my understanding is that in that scene in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, she's not talking to anybody. She's not like the central figure. She's pulling a pencil out of her hair, and she's got the big hair. And then she pauses, and she reaches in and she finds another and she finds another. My understanding is that thing was totally ad-lib. That was not in the script. She did that on her own. So anyway,
I did not know
to
that.
get back to reality here. Alabama yesterday, and I watched the vast majority of this game. Alabama goes into Columbia, South Carolina, and they beat the Gamecocks 88-68.
20-point win.
Yeah, and the line was 10.5. Alabama covered easily, 88 points on 55% shooting. And John immediately says, "Is South Carolina any good?" Well, I'll tell you this: they're not great defensively.
No,
I'll tell you that because there was a whole bunch of open shots for the Tide. Again, Mark Sears had 22. He was really good. Nate Oates, I like it though. I like Nate, and here's why. He went Saban on him.
Okay.
Alabama goes on the road in the SEC. And, John, that's hard.
That's what I hear.
They get a 20-point win on the road in the SEC. And Nate O says, man, it was a disaster for us. We only made 10 of 20 free throws.
Love it.
We got to do better than that. I like that because, number one, he's right. There's going to be more difficult opponents in South Carolina in the future, particularly when they make it to the tournament. There's two things that I see that he has got to really, grind on him about. One of them's defense, and he's grinded on him pretty good about defense for 2 or 3 years, John. They can score with anybody. Defensively, they've got potential. Sometimes they don't play very hard on defense. He's got to grind on him about that because you get in the tournament, one bad defensive game.
Oh, yep.
And you're sitting at home. Same thing with free throws, John. They ain't all going to be 20-point wins in the NCAA tournament. A game's going to hinge at some point on somebody making free throws at the end.
Got to make the easy.
Those are the two pitfalls.
Got to make the free throws. If kids don't practice it, it's not fun. It's not flashy, but it can be a game changer. It can change it around. And I got to tell you what I like, Barry. The guys aren't playing the way that Oates wants them to early in the second half. Calls a timeout, puts all 5 of them on the bench.
Yeah, you saw that, huh? That was pretty funny.
Yeah, put all 5 of them on the bench. You guys aren't going to hustle and play. Boom, sit over here with me.
Now, does anybody notice, and I don't mind it. I really don't. It just occurred to me. Guys like Aiden Holloway for Alabama. Could he go Grace And that kid could pull out about 45 pencils out
Yeah,
of
he
his hair,
could.
right?
No doubt about it.
Including, drafting pencils, those big 4-color pens, Sharpies, magic markers. I mean, does that not? And I see that I've always asked this question. When somebody's got the hair like that,
That was me in high school, believe it
and
or
I
not.
got
was
no
me.
problem with that as a fashion statement. I mean, you go for it. It's the same thing with girls and women's basketball who wear, while they're playing, those big fake eyelashes. Have you seen that?
I have seen those.
You
Yeah.
know, I mean, they're wearing the big fake eyelashes out on the court. How do you do that? Wouldn't that be a distraction to have all that hair bouncing around
Yeah.
with you? And I don't know. Man, that's
Hey,
a lot of hair.
Chris the Bammer wants to know, that kid you were just talking about, is he the former Aub? I
Yes.
believe he is.
Yeah.
Is that how
He,
you reference him, Chris? Oh, he's the
yeah.
former Aub.
Yeah, that's how he thinks about him his entire life. Aiden Holloway could be a 5-time NBA All-Star, and Chris is going to check in with us. Hey, that guy's a former Aub. There's not many. Harvey Glance.
Yeah.
Like great Harvey Glance, several of them.
The
But
former
yeah,
Aub. That's a good. I
Now-
like that one, Chris. That's a good one.
yeah, he is. Auburn beats Texas by 5 in Austin on Tuesday. Alabama wins at South Carolina by 20 yesterday.
So back to Oates benching the starting 5, and I
Yeah.
like that move a lot. I do.
I've seen Coach Cross do that every once in a while.
Sends a
Troy.
signal. You
And
guys quit dilly-dallying
unmistakable.
around.
Sends a signal to the fans, too.
Yes, it does. But as I watch Alabama play, I'm with you. Sometimes that defense isn't where it needs to be. Sometimes they get a little loose out there on the floor offensively. It kind of looks a little like a pickup game at times, or an NBA game. And I know that's kind of Nate's style. I mean, he likes to run and gun and shoot the 3. We all know that. I just think you got to tighten it up a little bit. You just can't get crazy out there. When you're running and gunning, you still got to have a little structure to it. And then defense is just, hustle and being tenacious. And I get it. Defense, I mean, defense wasn't my forte, so I get it.
Defense, in John's mind, when he played, defense was what they did, what his teammates did to get the ball back so they can get it to him so he could shoot it. Defense isn't necessary evil.
Yeah.
If all you're doing when John's not shooting is taking the ball out of the other team's basket after they make a shot, you're never going to win. So you got to stop them, get a rebound so you can outlet it to somebody else, and they can set up John
simple.
so he can crank one from distance. Yes.
Yeah, I was
That's
not.
what
The
defense is.
defense was not my forte. But good week for Auburn and Alabama in basketball as they head into the weekend action.
Yeah,
as well.
That's the difficulty this week. Both of them playing really well. Neither of them playing at home all week long. Auburn will go to South Carolina at noon on Saturday. Alabama will go to Texas A&M. That's going to be a feature game Saturday night. Texas A&M, to John's question about whether South Carolina is any good, let me tell you, Texas A&M is good. And they're playing at home, and they're number 10 in the country, and they're 13-2, just like Alabama. That's a feature game Saturday night, John. ESPN.
Okay.
Saturday night, 7:00.
Here's my problem. I can't go dual screen because the NFL game's on like Prime Video. So I got to go from there back to ESPN, back to Prime. See, that's the problem I got with this TV setup that I got nowadays. I mean, not to say, I'm glad I cut the cord with cable, but gee whiz, they make it tough on me. It's going to be a tough one.
He has to actually get like a laptop computer or a Chromebook.
Yes.
And put it on a TV tray beside him, and he'll actually have to cock his head sideways 5 inches to look at that, and then go back up there and maybe turn the volume down on one of them. Oh man,
I got a couple of days to figure it out, so it's not going to hit me like a brick. All right, when we get back, our man Jason Caldwell, he's with Auburn Undercover. We need to know what's going on the plains. Well, Jason's the guy to let us know about it. He'll join us when we return.
It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Hey, this is Barry McKnight from Longshore and McKnight, telling you about our friends at River Region Straw. You're not buying sticks or stems and pine cones. You're buying premium long needle pine straw from River Region Straw. Kenny and his staff have access to the best pine straw in the River Region, full of color, that'll last all season long. They've got locations in Montgomery, Prattville, and Auburn, and no order is too big or too small. From a few bales to an 18-wheeler trailer load, River Region Straw also has seasoned firewood for the cold days and nights ahead. Pickup is available, and your order can be delivered if you like. They can even spread your pine straw if that's what you want to have happen, for sure. Call or text Kenny today, 669-5959. That's 669-5959 for all of your pine straw and firewood needs at River Region Straw.
Some days you hit snooze, but not today. Today you have to go on a run to get burgers for the tailgate. You've got to haul something heavy, a cooler stocked with Bud Light. When you've got beer and football, nothing is hard. Until the other team scores. Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly. 21 plus, copyright 2024 Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Don't miss your chance to win big at Victoryland Casino. Play the latest, hottest, most exciting games around with fun bonuses and big jackpots. Don't miss out on your free play. Stop by Player Rewards today and check out this month's exciting free play promotions. Come see why our players keep coming back. You'll have more fun at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino, located off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama. Must be 21 or older.
Okay, we got about bottom of the hour, 29 minutes to the top, and our man Jason Caldwell, Auburn Undercover, joining us as he does each and every Thursday. Hey, Jason, good morning. How you doing today?
I'm good, guys. How about y'all?
We're doing really well. First of all, to get started, characterize the quality, as you saw it, of Auburn's 5-point win at Texas 2 nights ago.
Yeah, I think to do that, all you have to do is look at what else is happening when teams go on the road in this league. And there were a couple of wins last night, but just find a way to win. And honestly, surviving sometimes is the only thing you can do. I mean, you saw a guy get extremely hot and carry a team for the last 8-10 minutes of that night, and Auburn didn't play bad down the stretch. But you had a guy that just went crazy, and of course, I mean, you had a bunch of free throws and all this stuff, just things you have to survive, and that's it. It's survival right now, and you'll have some games you go in the league and you play really well and you dominate an opponent, but they're going to be rare. And so you go and you go, hey, just find a way to get a win and move on. And so, honestly, it's probably one of those you look back on at the end of this year and go, it might have been one of the more valuable games this team has played, because you had to find a way to go, okay, look, this thing's about to get out of hand.
Yeah.
We're about to lose it. You make a few free throws. You win the game and you go, okay, all right, that's what it's going to be like. And so it's also a team that is figuring out how to be a team with a target on its back. That hasn't happened much in the history of Auburn basketball. And now this is an Auburn team that, because of what they did, some last year and then really all this season, has become a team that now has a target on its back. That's a different thing to handle. And so I think it's even for an older team, it was one of those, okay, that's how it's going to be.
Might as well get used to it.
Yeah.
I saw a great tweet yesterday from a guy named Greg Harvey. I got to give him props on this. He says Johni Broome this year is the only one in the last 25 years to record 150-plus rebounds, 50-plus assists, and 40-plus blocks through 15 games of a campaign in the last 25 seasons. Jason, he's the best player in college basketball, isn't he?
Yeah, I think the most complete player. I think Cooper Flagg is probably the best college prospect the NBA prospect in college basketball. I think Johni Broome's the best player in college basketball. And those two things can be one and the same. I think when you look at impacting a game, the things he does, the assist, I mean, I think I have to go check. I think he still leads this Auburn team in assists.
He does.
And so you obviously one of the top rebounders in the country, a guy that can score. That's a guy that impacts the game at every level. And then the block shots, he impacts on the other end as well. And so the defensive side of things, when you throw that in, Yeah, I mean, you think back to Auburn history, and Auburn hasn't had a ton of great basketball teams, but they've had some good players. I mean, obviously Barkley and going back to Mingelt, all these people. I don't know that we've seen a player that's as impactful all the way around as what Janai Broome is right now.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of run on ESPN. Seen a lot of clips and highlights of Janai Broome, so the nation is certainly picking up on just how good of a player he is. Jason, I'm just curious your thoughts about what happened in Gainesville earlier this week. I mean, Tennessee, the number one team coming in, and man, it's like they didn't even show up.
The thing is, Auburn had already gone to Duke, so they had played in a tough environment. Alabama has gone on the road and played people. Tennessee hadn't really, people wonder, like, what's the schedule like? And they played some neutral site games, but neutral site games and going on the road are completely different things. And the other thing, I honestly hadn't watched a whole lot of Tennessee this year. The one thing that this stuck out to me was the lack of inside presence for Tennessee. And when you don't have that and the shots don't fall, then what do you have? And they didn't have an answer. Florida said, look, we're going to guard the three-point line, and we're going to make you do something else. And they couldn't do it. And so now Florida has a ton of length. That's a good basketball team. Mm-hmm. But again, the combination of not being able to throw it in the ocean and play it on the road, I think jumped on a team that had not experienced that this year. They'll still be good, but I think you learned that it's different to go on the road and play good teams and have to survive and do those things. And I think they got a little shell-shocked.
One final thought about basketball before we move forward. The win against Texas gave Bruce Pearl more wins than any basketball coach in Auburn history. He's now the winningest. So that is established. Now you can quantify that by the numbers. Jason, I want to know from your perspective, how impactful and important has Bruce Pearl been at Auburn as a whole?
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know that you could even measure it. I was fortunate enough. I mean, I grew up in this state from the time I was born till I was 10 years old, Auburn didn't beat Alabama in football. And so I knew how impactful Pat Dye was. But Auburn football was still pretty good. They just weren't good enough. Auburn basketball was the worst in the league and one of the worst in the country for a long time, other than a couple of little blips on the radar. To do what he's done there, I mean, David Marsh won a bunch of national championships in swimming. You look at the question, these things, to do what Auburn has done in basketball is the single best coaching job that I think in the history of this university. And there's been some good ones. I don't know that you can do it because of what Auburn basketball was and because of what it is now. I don't think you can do it. And just the brand that it has become. And we've seen it from Alabama in a football perspective, the doorstep that it is to a university. I think basketball has kind of done the same thing here in the last few years. So yeah, I don't know that you can measure how impactful it's been. I know one thing from the economy standpoint, Auburn basketball used to be a black hole. It's not anymore. I mean, when you're talking about parking passes selling for $300, $400 for one basketball game, that's what this thing has become. Unfortunately, folks have to go on the road to go watch them play, and so that's the flip side of this. But yeah, it's been pretty incredible to watch.
So, what's been the secret to his success?
I think the beginning was belief. Like, look, this guy's done it before. He's done it at a high level. He's done it at a place where football was king and women's basketball was king. Basketball was not a sport at Tennessee. So I think that was one thing. And I think that the SEC tournament run in that first year where you make it to Saturday and win 3 games and you look and go, hold up, I mean, this is possible. I think that was a huge part of this, that run that you had. And one of Montgomery's own led the way. I think that was a big deal. But to start to see that grow and in development, like I said, this isn't a team full of NBA first rounders, but they fit in a system. And I think the other thing is that it's team over person. That's been the whole point of this whole time. You're going to play 28 minutes. You're not going to play 38 minutes. We're going to play a bunch of different guys. that's just what we do. And I think now guys understand that. I mean, Miles Kelly's a good example. Miles Kelly could have gone somewhere where he played 38 minutes and got 40 shots, but he's come to a place where he's like more efficient, want to win, playing defense. I think it's just the entire encompassing thing. And there was a little clip the other night of Bruce talking to Dylan Caldwell, and Dylan Caldwell kind of staring him in the eyes, and it's gotten some run and going that coach-player relationship. Bruce will get on guys. He coaches guys really hard, and people go, well, you can't do that anymore. Yeah, you can. You can still coach guys hard, but you have to get the right guys to coach hard.
And somebody termed it this way. They said, Bruce coaches hard. He coaches with great detail. If you want to go in and you want every aspect of your game to be inspected and improved, you better be ready to be inspected and expected to improve.
Yeah, I mean, their practices, to go watch them in the summer, it's defense. It's all the little things that you look at. And I think the other part of this, too, is that he lets his guys coach. Whether it's Stephen Pearl or Chad Pruitt or Ira Bowen, whoever it is, those guys handle the scout. So they scout the next opponent. They get the team prepared. And Mike Burgermaster, he's kind of the offensive coordinator for this team. He's gotten people around him that he trusts. He's able to coach the individual and the team and the personality. And yeah, he does coach basketball, but he lets other guys do. I think it's a full team concept from coaching to players, and you look and go, that's how you do this. It's how UConn's won back-to-back national championships, by having guys that kind of fit what you want to do, not necessarily having guys that were just extremely talented and let's roll the ball out there and play.
Jason Caldwell is with us, AuburnUndercover.com. We noted, I was talking with some Auburn fans earlier yesterday, now that I think about it. The coaching staff on football loses Charles Kelly to Jacksonville State, loses Josh Aldridge to a coordinator job. And they hired TJ Rushing yesterday, and they hired Rock Bellantoni. He was fired up about Bellantoni because he remembers him from before. How good of a reaction is this to the loss of the two guys off that staff?
Yeah, no, I think, obviously Charles Kelly, because of the history, the in-state connections, that's a tough one. But I think you look, TJ Rushing is a guy that DJ Durkin knows really well. He was with him at Texas A&M. This is a guy that played in the NFL. So I think that's a really good move up the ladder for him. He was a position coach at Texas A&M, came to Auburn and was kind of an analyst last year. And then Rock Bellantoni is a guy that, I mean, look at what Derek Hall did and look at some of those guys, Eko Leota, when he was – that's the guy that kind of tutored them and kind of helped them take the next step. And Rock's a guy that's really well liked by Auburn fans. And that's hard to find off that previous staff. There weren't a whole lot of guys that people said, hey, I'd like to keep that guy. Well, Rock's one of them, and now he gets a chance to come back. And I think it's a really good fit. That's important too. We just talked about an Auburn basketball staff. You think about a football staff too. Personality fits are really important. And, I've gotten to know DJ Durkin, and honestly, completely different guy than I expected him to be. When you think DJ Durkin and you hear all these old stories, you think taskmaster, a guy that's really, he coaches hard, but I mean, great personality, got to sit down and talk to you, do all those things. Rock fits that style. Obviously, Weston McGriff's a guy that will talk to anyone, and that's just who he is. I mean, I think it's a really good fit for this defensive staff to finish it out, along with Vontrell Williams and those guys on that side of the ball.
Jason, what can you tell us about Tanner Bailey? I understand he is transferred from South Carolina to Auburn, going to kind of strengthen up that quarterback room.
Yeah, the interesting thing was this is the kid that's grown up. His dad was a quarterback at Auburn, early 80s. I've known Tanner, I don't know, probably since he was in the 9th grade at Gordo. The guy that this kind of always been his dream. When he was at South Carolina, kind of saw that, hey, this probably not going to be the right fit for me when you get in Lenora Sellers and these guys. And so he actually, retired from football and came to Auburn just to go to school. So he was in Auburn last year in school, graduated in December. And so he's graduated in 2.5 years. So when Auburn's looking for, another quarterback, and especially once that quarterback room empties out, you going, okay, can you bring in 4 guys in one class. Well, that might be so you get your 3 guys and you're going, look, we need a 4th quarterback. Need somebody else to be in that room. Wait, there's a guy that's on campus here that's pretty good option. So they reach out, they kind of have some discussions back and forth, and now he's a guy that will stay in the same apartment and just suit up once again and be on campus for spring. So Tanner's a really athletic guy, was a good baseball player at Gordo as well. This is one of those guys, though. I talked to him yesterday, and he's like, look, this is a dream come true. And so I don't know that you can have enough of those guys on a program nowadays with the transfers and all that stuff. This guy that loves Auburn and just wants to help out and wants to be a part of it.
Jason, I'm as you know, I've been a subscriber to Auburn Undercover and all the things way back in the day. And I was checking it out yesterday. And I know you guys have sent Christian Clement out to San Antonio, right, for the high school All-American game out there. Somebody just texted me a little while ago and says that there's a wide receiver named Devin Carter out there and wants to know if you've heard of him.
Yep.
And if he's a possibility.
Yeah, absolutely. Devin Carter's a guy that is really fast. And when I tell you guys who his dad is and say, hey, he's very, very, very similar to his dad's Dexter Carter that played at Florida State.
Florida State, yeah.
This is Dexter Carter's son. And so we actually got to see him play this year at Douglas County. So they played Langston Hughes, went over and watched him. That's a team that they got a really good quarterback, a couple of more good wide receivers, and they got a defensive end that's also a top prospect. And so, yeah, Devin Carter's a guy that can really run, 6 foot, 6'1", but a guy, he could play outside because of his speed. Has an Alexander Wright type build, and when you look at him, but he's much more fluid in terms of his pass catching, some of those stuff. I think Auburn is very much in the picture with him, and so I think it's absolutely got to watch for as you look to continue to bolster that wide receiver group. That'd be a guy that I would pay attention to.
Man, going old school, Ace Wright. Man, there's a name from the past.
And Dexter Carter. So, I mean, those guys,
there you go.
Similar time.
I'm just glad he's not related to Chris Carter. There's a school
he doesn't have the size of Chris Carter, but he's got the speed of Dexter.
One final question out here, and this is something John and I have had fun with ever since we saw it. There are already way too early top 25 things out there. One of them, and I can't even remember who anymore because John and I talked about it when it came out last week, has Auburn preseason ranked top 10 in the country. Reactions?
I mean, it's possible. I do think the roster is much better than it's been, but you don't know how it fits together. Heck, the problem is you don't know what your roster looks like after April. That's part of it. You don't know if there's a key guy that moves on and goes somewhere else because of that little window, who you add. Do I think it's possible? Yeah, I think it's possible. Because I think the offensive line's in better shape. You're going to have some young guys on that defensive line to stand up. But I think from a talent standpoint, you're closer now than an Auburn team has probably been since maybe 2019, but you had a true freshman quarterback then. I think from a roster standpoint, but offensive line is the best group of offensive linemen on paper that Auburn's had in probably a decade. And so I think that's a starting point for you. How well did your quarterbacks and all this kind of fit together? That's what we'll have to find out.
That's a great point because you really don't. I mean, nobody knows what their roster is going to really, really look like, the final roster till the spring. But I will say this: I do like the way Auburn's schedule sets up this year. I know conference-wise, it's the same thing. They just flip-flop the homes in a way.
Your Big 12 road trips to start the year. Well, technically SEC some of them, but
You'll know quick going to Waco.
Well, for those people who don't know, final question, we'll let you go. Jason can absolutely stripe a golf ball off a tee. Jason, does it interest you at all the debut of the TGL, the golf league, where you can have programmable greens and you hit it into a screen? Is that something you'd ever sit and watch for an extended period of time?
Not really. I watched a couple of minutes of it the other night, but no, it just doesn't interest me a whole lot. I know they're trying to capture the young, viewers and do some of those things that's a little different, but no, it doesn't really hold my attention a whole lot. I watched a couple of minutes. It was during the Auburn Texas basketball game, and so I kind of checked out a little bit of it. But no, you give me if I get a chance to go play it, I might do it. But it's like me watching, like, I don't want to watch somebody else play a video game. Of course, I don't play them either. But like, it's the same thing. Like, okay, I'm watching somebody hit into a screen, and then they go down and set a golf ball up and make sure the lies what it looks like. I mean, I'll watch it on TV, and I enjoy the scenery and the actual natural feel of golf much more on TV than I would watching them play this.
And, I'm with you, Jason. That doesn't really float my boat either. But if I'm going to watch something that's a little off the grid, and they hadn't seemed to have it in a while, but they'd have Tiger and Rory McIlroy and some of these guys playing these matches at night under the lights. Somewhere out in California, they put like 5 or 6 holes.
Golf course. Yeah, a real golf course. There's some things that I could do. And even the live idea, from an idea standpoint, it's okay. But I don't ever know where it's on TV, so I would never know where to find it. But that seems like an idea that, it'd be okay to watch. But to me, it's during when they do those things. Like, to me, the things I want to bring back are Shell's Wonderful World of Golf.
Yeah.
I want to bring those back where you put, hey, let's do Tiger and Phil and go play at some random golf course in New Mexico or whatever, like a place you never heard of. Or that's one thing. And then they're talking about bringing back the Skins game. That's the other one. I want things to watch in November, December, January. Put it on, in the afternoons after a football game, whatever, or during the week. That's what I want to watch it. And so I don't know. Maybe that's something that'll come back.
Whatever happened to the Skins game? I mean, that was awesome.
It went away, and they are talking about bringing it back for next year, which would be great. Lee Trevino and those guys. That was actual golf, and to see them doing it in their element, which is, okay, this means more because there's more money on the line, that added to it.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Well, Auburn Undercover, Jason, you guys, like I said, you guys are covering the Navy All-American game out in San Antonio. There's basketball to cover, still so much more with football. It's a one-stop place for all of the Auburn fans to find out everything that's going on with the Tigers. How do they do it?
Yeah, got a lot going on, and baseball starts Monday, full team practice. Softball's already started, so we got stuff on that as well. So you'll find us auburnundercover.com. Have a little shorter live show tonight at 6 o'clock leading into the championship game. So you can find that too on our YouTube channel as well, Auburn Undercover. Great content as always, Jason. We really appreciate your time. Great stuff. We'll talk again next week. Thanks, guys. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate that. Yeah, the Skins game. I mean, that's kind of like when you play with your buddies. Okay, wait a minute. We're rolling this over to the next hole, but it's with those guys' money. That was a great event. They got to bring that back. They got to bring back the Skins game. I'm glad he brought that up. All right, Barry, when we return, I'm going to tell you who's winning the game tonight and tomorrow in the college football playoff semifinals. There you go. So, I mean, they'll play it and everything, but the winner, we already know who it's going to be. Coming up next, Longshore and McKnight in association with Yellowhammer News, presented by Bud Light. Why Hands? At Hands Heating and Air, you get this area's highest ranked service provider with 24-hour repair service, no overtime charges, and their same-day service guarantee. Plus, instead of other companies' 30-day repair warranty, Hands gives you a 3-year repair warranty. Hands Heating and Air is here for you 24/7, 365. And service is not just something they do, it's their way of operating, for you in mind. All of Hands employees are trained to adhere to this standard. They work hard to ensure that this standard is maintained, and they are constantly looking for new ways to better serve you. Call Hands Heating and Air today at 508-5382. That's 508-5382. Or find them on the web at 834hands.com.
Heads or tails, kick or receive, with the wind or against the wind. Buy your friend a Bud Light, buy a stranger a Bud Light. Go to your team's bar, go to the opposing team's bar. Buy around during the next truck commercial, buy around during the next talking duck commercial. If you're truly up for whatever this weekend, grab the perfect beer for whatever happens. Crisp, refreshing Bud Light. Make 2 plans and let the NFL coin toss make the call. Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
All guests of Longshore McKnight appear on the City of Montgomery guest hotline. Check out the most interesting and informed personalities in sports covering Auburn, Alabama, Troy, ASU, and all the major teams from across the country. John and Barry have the best guests brought to you by the City of Montgomery. To find out everything you need to know that is going on in the capital city, check out montgomeryal.gov. That's montgomeryal.gov, the capital of dreams.
Couple of minutes to the top of the hour, Longshore and McKnight on this Thursday. Theodo's very concerned, Barry. He says, I wish Bama had won their bowl game so Bob and Danny would be here. We hadn't heard from Bob and Danny much since Michigan took care of Bama in the ReliaQuest Bowl. Yeah, I'd already forgotten about that one. So hope everything's good in their world. Also, Barry,
normally,
I did not know.
they would be like
I'm a little
14,
concerned.
15 chats a show, and now nothing ever since New Year's Eve. I would imagine, and not to compare, but if Auburn had played in a bowl game, and they didn't, but if Auburn had played in a bowl game and had lost in the nature in which Alabama lost,
could have been,
they'd be all over it. Just somebody,
you would think.
I know they got a lot of friends. If you guys can tell us, make sure they're okay.
That's why I'm so wanting Auburn to be relevant again in football, well, really anything. It was a tough athletic year for the Tigers last year, no doubt. I mean, the early exit in the NCAA tournament was not what they expected, and baseball and football wasn't that great. So it's been tough, but I'm ready for them to come back so we can hear from Frank, and we can hear more from Curtis and Ralph and Punja and all the normal ones that we would hear on the Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry email inbox back in the day when they were slinging their little jabs. I miss them. I miss you guys. I really, really do. And look, just because Auburn has suffered out athletically, don't let that affect our relationship. I mean, come on. Where you guys been? Also, Barry, I did not know this, but Lee Van Cleef, who I think was in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly with Clint Eastwood.
Yes.
His birthday's today, even though he's been dead for about, 2 decades, I think?
He's been dead for a long time.
Yeah,
Lee Van
thank
Cleef.
you, Theodis.
Yeah.
For that one. And Bill from Baltimore, I was trying to think about this. I was thinking Byron Nelson, Bill. I just couldn't come up with Gene Littler.
Okay. He says, I loved watching some of the old Shells.
Wonderful World of Golf. Shell was the sponsor.
One of the best was Byron Nelson and Gene Littler at Pine Valley. Arguably the best course in the country that isn't visible. Huh.
So, I remember that match. I used to watch. If you go to Golf Channel, they'll show them from time to time. But year in and year out, all the golf magazines have chosen Pine Valley as the number one golf course in the country.
Yeah.
You'd think Augusta or Pebble Beach, but Pine Valley always gets the number one spot. They did have that match there, and it was a good one.
Now, you've been called out already for this. Chris the Bammer says, and John's had to deal with this before. Chris the Bammer says, John is rooting for the big Aub comeback? I'm telling you, there is validity in what John's saying.
I know this.
We've got to be selfish here. What's best
good
for
good
us?
Word. It's a good
what's
word.
best for us? John was the first one to put it this way, and I never thought about it until it's better for us when they're both good.
It is, and I miss it. In over 30 years, there's been years when they've both been good, more times than not, and they're going at it, and the fans are at each other, and of course the callers and the texters and the emailers are at each other,
calling each other names and questioning their parentage. It's great.
Don't let Danny and Bob dominate the conversation, and that's what's been going on. You got to you got to get in. You just wait till around February 15th. You let Alabama beat Auburn in basketball, they'll be back. Don't you worry, or vice versa. So that's kind of my target day on the calendar.
Okay.
February 15th. That's about when things should get real interesting. They can get interesting before that, but that's just kind of what I've seen on the calendar. But Chris, I know it, don't panic, but it just, back in the day, thinking back, reflecting back on this program over these many years, those are some good times. I got to tell you, I got to shoot straight with you.
Well, we're on the cusp here because, yesterday there was no football, day before no football. It's kind of tough. Today begins 5 straight days. This is manna from heaven. 5 straight days of football. You got the college football semifinal today.
Yep.
The Orange Bowl. You got the college football semifinal tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
NFL playoff games on Saturday. 2 NFL playoff games on Sunday and 1 on Monday night.
Awesome. Actually, Barry, I think there are 3 NFL games on Sunday.
But
12, 3, and 7. And
they're
3:30 and 7, I believe.
And every one of them is meaningful. Every one of them. I mean, we're not talking about Texas San Antonio versus Florida Atlantic here. Every one of them is, you lose it and your season's over with.
Yeah. So I'm with you. I love it. It's going to be great. And I'm going to go ahead before Rodney Orr, the Tider Insider, joins us, brought to you exclusively by the Destin Connection Seafood Market. I'm going to go ahead and tell you who's going to win tonight and tomorrow. So tonight, we have got Notre Dame and Penn State down in Miami.
Yep. Notre Dame a 1-point favorite.
And Barry, I've been high on the Irish. I think they're very disciplined. There might not be the most athletic team out there, but they're very disciplined. They play smart. But I go back as I've looked at this game and I'm thinking, and I know, look, it counts. Getting a fumble deep in your territory, you got to go about 13 yards to score. That's kind of a gift. Running back a kickoff for a touchdown doesn't happen all the time.
No, it does not. Yeah.
And that's 14 points. You're thinking, wow, man, that's 14 big points. I just don't think you can expect stuff like that to happen every week. I like the way Penn State is playing. I like what James Franklin's put together there. I just think maybe Notre Dame's riding a little too high, a little high on the horse there, laying points in this game. I like Penn State. I'm just, there again, like what Notre Dame's done. I like their discipline. I'm just not sold athletically. They can go 4 quarters against Penn State. So I like Penn State to win the game tonight. As for tomorrow night, Ohio State and Texas, I've been in this long enough to know don't fall in love with one team. I mean, I don't want to get all giddy about Ohio State, but the eye test is big with me. And my eyes tell me there's not a team out there that's as good athletically and has more impact players than Ohio State has. Now, can they put it all together? They have the last 2 games. Texas has kind of been living on the edge, all season long. We saw them get beat by Georgia. Their schedule has been incredibly weak. I'm just not sure they're up to the same level as Ohio State. The Buckeyes laying close to a touchdown here. That might be a little bit too much in some people's mind, but I think they're going to win this game by more than 7. So I'm taking Ohio State, in my mind, the better team, passing the eye test. I like the Buckeyes tomorrow night to take care of Texas. So there will not be an SEC team playing for the national championship this year. Looks like 2 Big Ten teams are going to go at it on January the 20th.
Weird. It's weird not to think about it as we bring in Rodney Orr, the Tider Insider, presented by our friends at the Destin Connection Seafood Market, John.
Yep, 3750 Norman Bridge Road for all the freshest seafood. They have got it. The freshest seafood in the river region delivered daily to the Destin Connection Seafood Market. Call ahead. Your order will be ready for pickup, 288-4272. You thinking about lunch today? That grilled grouper po' boy with that marinated slaw on the side and his famous beans. Oh, man, it is so good. Check it out. Tell them John and Barry sent you, the Destin Connection Seafood Market.
Welcome in, Rodney. How you doing?
Bundled up.
Yeah.
It's a little chilly. I've got my little floor heater here, so feels pretty good.
We had we're leading in to your segment as you were waiting in the green room. John was given the opinion that the national championship game will not feature anybody from the Southeastern Conference. And boy, as you probably well know, the national media are feasting on the narrative that the SEC's era of dominance is dead and gone. Rodney, how do you feel about the state of SEC football on a national level?
No, I mean, I think it's 1 year. I don't think the SEC is going anywhere. I think it's just something that people have kind of waited for. Now, look, I'll say this: the dominance. Probably nobody's going to win like Alabama won, and all the SEC championships. 5 teams have won national championships since the last 20 years. That's pretty phenomenal. Now, I don't know that's going to happen. If you want to put it in that perspective, yeah, okay. But to just kind of say the SEC is going to fade away or they faded away, no, that's not. Not in my opinion. I mean, it's give it to the Big Ten. I mean, if John's predictions come true, that's a pretty big statement for them to have Ohio State, Penn State in the national championship game. Now, I will say this, just my prediction. I'm going to say it's going to be Ohio State and Notre Dame. And now John probably has a more thought out prediction here. Mine is, it's been 1988 since Notre Dame won a national championship. It's almost like it's time for Notre Dame, right? They're my sleeper team. They were my sleeper pick for the national championship back in December. And I predicted Georgia to beat Texas in the SEC championship game, but Texas to bounce back and win the national championship. But no, wait, that was my preliminary pick. Then I saw Ohio State and I said, hey, they're the favorite. So I'm going to say Ohio State's the favorite. And if they play Notre Dame, I'll have my favorite and the sleeper in the game.
Hey, there you have it. Not bad at all on that one. And it was tough for me to go against Notre Dame. I just had to go one way or the other.
Right. No, I think you make a good pick.
Nodded with Penn State. Rodney, the last couple of weeks we've talked to you, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I've kind of got the impression that, if Kalen DeBoer is going to make some moves, he needs to go ahead and do it. He needs to put his stamp on this team for what year one's out of the way. And, he's come in and everything that went into it. Now turn the page, his team, his stamp on this team. Have you seen any movement in that direction?
Well, I mean, obviously there's been one move already. Colin Hitzler, the safeties coach, is moved on. And, it sounds like Jason Jones is going to be the new safeties coach. And I've talked to some people who have a lot of respect for Jason Jones. I remember when he was recruited out of high school here at Central High School, played for Buzz Busby here, legendary coach at one time. And Jason Jones would be a great addition. He's got a lot of familiarity with the Womack system. He coached under Dave Womack. He coached with Kane at Indiana, Dave at Ole Miss, of course, Kane's father, is really well noted. So that would be a good addition. Of course, everyone's talking about Ryan Grubb and the possibility now that he has been fired. I know someone, John and Barry, who had spoken to Grubb last week, and, he said he predicted that this was coming, his firing was coming, and he did not rule out the possibility of coming back to Alabama. So I'm going to assume that it's a real chance that it could happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I guess it could. And people say, well, what would happen to Nick Sheridan? And I don't think Sheridan would be going anywhere. I think he would stay in place. Now, and again, just speculating if it happened. Now there's also talk, Scott Huff, the offensive line coach who's so highly touted, who was here with DeBoer for a couple of weeks when he and Grubb bolted for Seattle. Now, it sounds like possibly he's on the edge up there, too, with their new offensive coordinator coming in, probably going to select his own offensive line coach. So that could be interesting. That could be an interesting move. There's been some other chatter about a possible defensive move. I doubt it would happen. There's been some talk, but right now we'll just have to kind of see how it unfolds. But yeah, I think he's made some moves. We'll see what the future holds before we have a total evaluation.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the future. Is it my imagination, or has a lot this past week of Alabama news at TigerInsider.com and elsewhere, Rodney, been some pretty good news about guys announcing that they are staying at Alabama instead of moving on or going to the NFL.
Yeah, and I think most of them, whether it's Deontay Lawson, Jeremy Bernard, Tim Keenan coming back, I think is really big on the defensive line. I mean, we could go down the list. Keon Sabb coming back, I don't think that's a surprise at safety. Jamarian Latham yesterday announcing that he's coming back, and his experience as a defensive end, and also when he filled in last year at outside linebacker at the Wolf spot, I think that's really important. So, I mean, they've gotten a lot of their guys back. Damani Jackson at corner would be another one that comes to mind very quickly. So I think all of these guys, with the experience that they have, I think it sets up well for Kane Womack on that defensive side of the ball, when you talk about next year.
We had Tom Luganbill earlier, was actually yesterday on the program. He was raving about Keelan Russell, some all-star game action, and just said, just really, really super. Of course, I asked him, does he think he can start as a true freshman? Athletically, he says he could, but everything else that goes into it, maybe not there just yet. But certainly from a guy that's, waiting in the wings and coming to Tuscaloosa, getting a lot of high praise.
Yeah, he's a real talent. I mean, I think a lot of people have compared him to Jaden Daniels, and I see that. I also see some qualities that I saw in Bryce Young. He's different. He's bigger he's taller than Bryce, a lot taller. Yeah, he's a real talent. Played in a great program out there at Duncanville, Texas. Now, I can tell you, they've won a lot of championships. They've got a lot of great coaching there at Duncanville High School. A lot of great players too. But the coaches out there, their feeling is that Keelan has a lot of the qualities like Tom referred to, I'm sure, on your show. But the one thing he said was, hey, look, he's got to get bigger physically. He's 175, whatever he is. But don't forget, now, Jaden Daniels started as a true freshman at Arizona State at about $170. Look, I think Ty Simpson, maybe we talked about this last week. I think Ty goes into spring just the solid favorite. And I think if Ty can put it all together, he's not going to be Tua. I'm not predicting Tua or Bryce, but he could be like a Mac Jones. And what I mean by that is a guy who he's more athletic than, so I'm not really comparing those aspects of it. I'm talking about more of a guy who later in his career developed and just, had that big, strong ending to his career. I think he's got a lot of potential, Ty Simpson. So I wouldn't sell him short if he can put it all together.
John was talking about what Luganbill was saying about Keelan Russell, and I thought it was interesting. I can't remember the name of the Alabama offensive lineman who started as a true freshman a couple of years ago, but there's value in what he was talking about, really not just about Keelan Russell. Athletically, can he make all the throws? Can he, run the offense and everything? Absolutely. But there's value in the concept, and a lot of fans don't get it, that, man, it is tough getting your feet under you as a freshman, particularly on a football team like Alabama's. That's a thing, right? You got to be patient with the freshman just by definition, right?
There's so much that's involved in it.
Yeah.
Managing the offense, getting in the right play, recognizing the defense to do that. There's just so much involved that you don't ever experience on the high school level. It doesn't matter how high of a level you play on in high school. I mean, that's why there's only a few Tuas. Bryce Young, who could come in, and even though they didn't really start immediately, you could see as a freshman they were ready to play. And then obviously Tua, what he did in that championship game, which, by the way, 7 years ago last night, that was it.
Really?
7 years ago last night.
Mm.
So, but yeah, Barry, you're right. I mean, there's so much that goes into it. And I know that fans get excited about these players and like Keelan Russell, and understandably so. We all do. But at the same time, there's just so much that goes into it that the expectations probably need to be tempered a little bit. And guess what? If he comes in the spring and lights it up, then all of a sudden that's another story. That's okay. This guy might be ready to really compete for the job now. We'll see.
Yeah. And we heard those stories with Tua. I mean, through
absolutely.
The spring and during everybody's going, man, the best quarterback's not even on the field. I'm like, yeah, we've heard that story before.
Yeah.
But we certainly saw it. Go back to Ty Simpson quickly. You mentioned the Mac Jones comparison. Where's the love for Jake Coker? I mean, here's a guy that wins the national championship. It's like he's forgotten about. Nobody talks about Jake Coker anymore.
Jake was Jake was just a determined guy. What a leader he became, and thinking about that, just a quick memory, it all kind of clicked for Jake after that Ole Miss game, or in the Ole Miss game when he got benched at the starting. They started Cooper Bateman, the 2015 game against Ole Miss here in Tuscaloosa. They started Cooper Bateman, and it ignited Jake. I mean, he became a different player after that. And came in, nearly saved that game, and then the rest is history. They talk about Jalen Hurts' record here, and it was good. But what quarterback under Saban didn't have a great record? I mean, Jake was 14-0 as a starter and won a national championship. They all had great records because they had great teams around them, great players around them, and great coaching too, by the way.
I've been on the Mike Shula bandwagon for years, Rodney. I need to get on the Jake Coker bandwagon. The guy needs more love. He gets forgotten about.
Yeah. Look, I'm with you. I think Coker, his leadership, the things that he did, hey, you had a guy like him this year, you'd probably be in the playoffs. I mean, just seriously. I mean, just a consistent player that led, didn't make mistakes. I think that was the key with Milroe, was he just turned the ball over too much.
So let's go to the round ball. What'd you make of Nate Oates calling a timeout and benching the starting five in the second half last night?
I like it.
Oh, I loved it.
It was necessary.
I tell you, listen, honestly, I think DeBoer should have done that with 8 minutes left in the third quarter against Oklahoma.
Boom.
I never thought about that. Imagine in your mind's eye, midway through the third quarter, the score being what it is and the tone of play being what it is, he calls a timeout, runs out 11 new players, John.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, and that would not have been uncalled for.
I think a former coach might have done that.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this, and again, he could have at the very least sat Milroe down for a couple of series about that point and said, "Hey, Jalen, we got to get our feet back under us." But anyway, no, back to Oates. I mean, I think that was a great move right there for him.
All right, I just got a text. I don't remember this, but Rodney, I have a feeling you do. One of our texters on our River Region Straw VIP text line says it clicked for Coker when he trucked that linebacker from Texas A&M.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
that.
he actually was scrambled around a little bit, and he broke out to the left side. He cut across the field and broke out to the left side. And I'm telling you, when he met that guy, it was 15 yards downfield. I mean, the defender didn't expect it. Coker was a big guy.
Yes,
Coker was 6'4", 235 pounds or whatever he was. And I mean, he lowered the shoulder and trucked him. And I remember the announcers, and I don't know if it's Nessler or whoever it was, or Danielson or Byrne, whoever, they were like, "Oh my goodness. I mean, look at Jake Coker." And, Coker was one of those guys, he would make a play like that, or he would make another key play. Even when he was struggling, he would make key plays. You remember the national championship game against Clemson. Saban was really upset with him at halftime because he kept drifting backwards, and he made that throw down the sideline to Ardarius Stewart on a third down that really kind of got Alabama going. But anyway, with all that said, yeah, I remember that when Jake lowered the shoulder.
Man, was there a Daniel Moore print of that? There should be. That sounds like a
No,
great
but I've seen the replay here recently, actually, and
I
it's
gotta go
a
look
pretty
that
good
up
play.
today
Yeah.
on YouTube. Yeah, I got to check that out.
I'm telling you, I got a text just now from a buddy of mine, and he said, man, he said, I am all about Rodney just sitting here telling memories and him and John trading stories about this and that.
Usually we do this in the summer, but every now and then something clicks during the
he
during
says,
the regular season.
I am here for this when Rodney starts spinning out memories and observations and stuff like that. That's good stuff.
So I'll ask you this, Rodney. I've asked it a couple times this week, and if I've asked you before, please excuse me. In the spring portal, when it opens, could you see Kalen DeBoer going after a quarterback?
Here's the feeling right now that I pick up from inside the building, and that is that they're really confident that Ty is probably the solid guy going into spring. That's their feeling. They're confident that I think it's safe to say right now they're confident that come FSU, Ty Simpson will be the starter. Now, could that change between now and then? It certainly could. I'm talking about just the feeling today. I think they really like Austin Mack a lot. They think he has a ton of potential. Still a young kid. He's 18 years old, should be a true freshman. But he's got to become more consistent in everything he does. Keelan Russell, we talked about him. He could change some things this spring. We'll see. I think that the way they look at it today is you generally would love to have 4 quarterbacks on scholarship. They've got 3. And if after spring practice, they may make the decision to add a guy, maybe it's a young player or something that understands he would come in, would not challenge for the starting job, at least not right away, but would have a chance to come in and develop and potentially be an emergency type guy for this year, for next year. If you ask me today, that's what I think they kind of feel. Okay. So I don't think that they've got a Quinn Ewers targeted or somebody like that. I think now I want to be clear, John and Barry, we all know how things can change. An injury could change something.
Yeah.
So, right now I would say Ty's the guy, and then they could add a guy, for emergency purposes or whatever, depth, if you want to say it that way.
And I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but man, you're asking a guy, and I get it. Florida State had a terrible year last year, but you got to think they're going to do some things to make some improvements.
Absolutely.
You're asking a guy to make his first start as a quarterback at Alabama at Doak Campbell Stadium, which it'll probably be at night. That's a tall order for a new quarterback.
Yes, it is. It is. He should have an experienced offensive line in front of him. That'll be good. I think so. They should be improved up front. I think he'll have better receivers overall. I mean, obviously Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard are back, but I think with Isaiah Horton and the guys that they feel confident in at the wide receiver spot, they may even bring in another one. We'll see. But I think they feel better there. And defensively, I think with all the guys coming back, having the year in the system, the way they really played down the stretch was pretty impressive, even against Michigan, But so we'll see. Yeah. But John, I agree with you. You cannot replace experience at quarterback. It's hard to do.
Yes, it is. It's hard to replicate. That's for
Yep.
sure. This is all great stuff. High quality work from Rodney Orr, TigerInsider.com, brought to you by the Destin Connection Seafood Market. How do people access all of the information involved and available at TigerInsider.com?
Yeah, it's TigerInsider.com. It's only $48 a year, and you can get instant access right now with your credit card. If you prefer, there is an address there to send a check, and that gives you all of our premium information, of course. But also part of that is our all sports forum, where I post a lot of stuff on there. We do a lot of exchange, communicate with our membership, and our members are really great. I mean, they come up with they've got some great stuff, and it can be entertaining at times too. Sometimes
Yes,
a little
can.
too entertaining.
Yep.
But yeah, no, it's right there, all on TigerInsider.com.
Well, it certainly is. And you can, if you missed this interview and want to go back and listen again, it'll be up on TI later this morning. Rodney does a great job with that. Of course, it'll be on Yellowhammer News, on Facebook, on YouTube, Spotify, all of our outlets. You can check it out. And Rodney, as always, man, we appreciate your input and your time and your analysis, and we'll do it again next week.
One quick question.
Sure.
What's the title of today's show?
Well,
Do you have a title?
Let's see.
Yeah.
Gern, have you given us the title yet today?
I don't see it up in the top.
He usually surprises us with that.
Oh, okay.
We'll have
so
to
I
look
have
that
not
up.
seen it yet. So
Text it to me, John.
yeah, I will text it to you when Gern gives us
Always
the
good.
title of today's show. We sure
Okay.
will.
Okay, guys. Appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you, buddy. Good stuff there from Rodney Orr. Of course, brought to you exclusively by the Destin Connection Seafood Market, 3750 Northern Bridge Road here in Montgomery. Call ahead. Your order will be ready for pickup. 288-4272. Fresh Gulf shrimp, oysters. I mean, the largest selection of fresh Gulf seafood. Nobody's got more. Nobody's got fresher seafood. That's why so many restaurants around the river region purchase their seafood from the Destin Connection. You should too. Destin Connection Seafood Market, 3750 Norman Bridge Road, or call them 288-4272.
Great information already on the program from Jason Caldwell, AuburnUndercover.com, Rodney Orr, Insider.com. Coming up in just a little bit, Bart Heish.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get him coming up
Maybe
in just a
break.
moment.
Yeah.
And a recap of the small segment leading into Tighter Insider. John has already let you know.
Yep.
Who's going to win in the semifinals. We'll revisit that as well before the end of our live show.
Yep, got one semifinal tonight, one tomorrow. I've already given you the winners. Tomorrow, though, the Phantom will give you a big breakdown on the NFL wildcard weekend. That'll be at the top of the second hour. Also, Ralph Michaels from Wager Talk and the Gold Sheet. And I believe in the first hour, we're going to have another special guest, so I won't let the cat out of the bag on that just yet. But in the bottom of the first hour, I think our friend Reed Ingram from here in Montgomery County is going to join us. So we'll get that confirmed later today, and look forward to speaking with Reed tomorrow here on the program. But as you mentioned, Rodney Orr, you can check out our segment. He'll have it posted up on TI later this morning. If you missed it or want to hear it again, you can certainly do that. We appreciate Rodney putting that link on his site.
In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Book tee time sooner. Save on every round. That's what you get with the 2025 RTJ Trail Card. Destination Golf is closer than you might think. Buy a 2025 Trail Card and save every time you play. Plus, you will be automatically entered into the Trails Loyalty Program. Enjoy 10-day advance reservation privileges at each location. 11-day advanced internet tee times on rtjgolf.com and the RTJ app. Enjoy the benefits of a 2025 Trail Card. It makes for a great stocking stuffer, and you save on every round you play in 2025 on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail.
Heads or tails, kick or receive, with the wind or against the wind. Buy your friend a Bud Light, buy a stranger a Bud Light. Go to your team's bar, go to the opposing team's bar. Buy a round during the next truck commercial, buy a round during the next talking duck commercial. If you're truly up for whatever this weekend, grab the perfect beer for whatever happens. Crisp, refreshing Bud Light. Make two plans and let the NFL coin toss make the call. Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
The Destin Connection Seafood Market offers the freshest seafood direct from the Gulf of Mexico with deliveries daily. Snapper, grouper, pompano, flounder, copia, along with medium, large, and jumbo shrimp, hand-picked crab meat, and chucked oysters. They can even cook your order for easy, quick pickup. The Destin Connection can make a po' boy with any of their seafood items that folks in New Orleans rave about. Go by and see them at 3750 Norman Bridge Road or call 288-4272 for pickup orders.
Okay, back at it here on this Thursday, bottom of the hour. Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. And we're looking forward to bringing on our next guest. When we talk hoops, it is Bart Heish, member of Mississippi State's Final Four team. And, man, we are looking forward to seeing what he's got on the docket today. Bart, good morning. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, we're doing great. I don't even know how to begin without saying hail to the Bulldogs these days, Bart.
Yeah, you can tell my voice is a little under the weather, so apologies, gentlemen. First off, I'd like to say congratulations to my friend Barry McKnight on your award, the Broadcast of the Year award. I think that is well deserved. The only bad thing about it is I was astonished that that's the first time. So it should have happened before that. But Barry McKnight, congratulations.
Kidding.
You are an absolute legend.
My mom thinks it should be like 23 times in a row or something like that.
Barry, my mom calls ESPN and tells them how bad the announcers are. So because she wants me on there and I don't even want that job. So,
okay, so and I appreciate it very much, Bart. So in the SEC right now, there's only like a week into it so far, but you have to note after a 12-point win at Vanderbilt, Mississippi State 14th in the country, 14-1, Bart. Might there be a return to the Final Four with a group like this? Uh-oh.
We got to get Bart connected back. We lost Bart's connection there.
I think Gurn had enough of him congratulating me or something like that. Yeah.
We'll get Bart reestablished here. Chris wants to know, John, why is your face so red? I don't know. Because it's not.
I think we have filters.
My face is not that red in real life.
No. There's filters and stuff. I don't know how to work filters or anything like that.
I mean, I can go the easy route and say I drink too much, but that's not the case.
Yeah.
If that was the case, you'd see all those lines on my face, and
some of the people who are unfortunately alcoholics, their nose has all these like little lines.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah,
I
know exactly the lines that you're talking about. But
So
Chris, I don't know. Is that it's a different Chris? I'm not sure.
Chris,
we're trying to work it out, and I can hit a couple of buttons. I'm scared to hit buttons though, because I'm not scared.
Because you get like on Instagram and stuff or Snapchat, and you can hit those buttons, and all of a sudden, I'll have a beard, or I'll have horns coming out the side of my head, or my ears will be on fire. So we don't want to do an entire show with John with a Fu Manchu mustache, looking like that guy from the Village People.
Is that any better?
No, that's too bright.
That's too bright. Yeah. I just moved it up like one click. See, that's one click in brightness.
Yeah. Okay. So we're scared of the filters. The filters
we are scared. Look,
hey
Chris, you're getting what you're gonna get. That's all I can tell you.
This is who we are.
Yeah.
Bart Heish joins us here. Bart, we were before you left us, we were noting Mississippi State goes on the road and beats Vanderbilt on Tuesday. They're 14-1, Bart. How surprised are you about that?
I mean, I think it's somewhat surprising. I'm actually more surprised that that Butler was the loss. I was actually at that game out in Arizona. I was in that the other night, and this state team has got a lot of pieces, guys. Chris Jans went out and addressed the issues as far as scoring the basketball that needed to be addressed. But I'm not sure anybody realized Caldwell Harris was going to shoot the ball at the clip he is, and he may be that dagger-making guy that can just jump up and make a shot. That shot he made on the wing at Vandy the other night, you know how it is up there, John and Barry. The crowd is weird. The crowd is everywhere, but there's a weird roar when they get going. And there was a couple opportunities where State got caught out on the front of the floor, about to turn it over, and somebody just made a play and jumped up and made a shot. I'm surprised at the fact that no one's paying enough attention to the Dogs right now, but I have zero problem with that. If you know the truth, just keep flying under the radar. Huge game this weekend at home against Kentucky, of course. The hump will be back. But guys, Chris Jans is an elite basketball coach. I heard an NBA scout say that he might be one of the top 5 coaches in the country. Nobody knows about it. So it doesn't really, if you look everywhere he's been, just look at his winning percentage, no matter what conference.
Right.
Now, that's not to say it's going to be very difficult for any team to go through this team, in my opinion, with even 4 losses or less, just because of the schedules and what have you. But, I think State's going to finish in the top tier of the conference, probably 5 or 6, maybe creep higher. But things are good in Starkville right now. There's no question about that. On the basketball court.
And you mentioned the game this weekend. They're taking on a Kentucky team, second road game in a row, and they got beaten Athens earlier this week. So you got to think they're coming in a little salty. Your thoughts about a Kentucky team coming into Starkville with a loss?
John, I actually told a lot of my friends and colleagues that I felt worse about Tuesday night than I did about Saturday. I feel good about Saturday. I just don't. State plays with a lot of physicality, guys. A lot of physicality. And at times, Kentucky is extremely vulnerable on the boards. And just dealing with getting the basketball where they want to go. That passing and cutting stuff that a lot of people do against man-to-man, you can't do that against State. And unless you have a big elite, every time the ball goes in the post against State, it's going to be doubled from the back side. South Alabama does that in that zone, Barry. You're going to see that. I guess it was that this weekend. You come to
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I'll see you this weekend. I'll have that game.
Yeah.
But it's unorthodox type teaching. And basically what State tries to do with their defense, they're taking away dribble drives and they're taking away all post-up opportunities. South Alabama's doing the same thing. It's the old amoeba defense from UNLV is what it is, with the same concepts.
And South Alabama's beating people by 20, 25 points a game, which leads me into my other question. John can't get over this, and I really can't either. You mentioned, this is going to be difficult for anybody to go through the league without losing at least 3-4 games, right?
Right.
Well, we pointed out when it happened how crazy it was. Tennessee was the last undefeated team in the country. They were number 1 in the country, and they went into Florida, who had just come off of a gut-wrenching loss at Kentucky. Florida wins that game by 30. And my initial reaction was, we may see a lot of those kind of games, 2 evenly matched teams. This league is so deep and so strong. There's going to be games where a really good team has it get away from them. Like, I don't know about the extent about Tennessee, but it's going to be a league where you're going to have some shocking results because teams are so even, and you're going to have a lot of really, really good teams lose 3 or 4 or 5 games in conference play.
I think you're correct, but you're talking to the wrong one if you wanted to hear that I think Tennessee is good, because I think that's the same coach over there that's been over there since he was at Texas. It's the same one that's been over there at Clemson. I always had highly ranked teams, guys, but when it comes to Xing and Oing and making adjustments during games, Rick Barnes is not your guy. If his system doesn't work, if his scores aren't outscoring people, if his physicality is not elite and just making the other team basically want to quit, guys, it's going to be hard for Tennessee to win on the road. Just telling you, in this league, they don't make enough shots consistently. And in my opinion, this is just me. I don't think Lanier is Connect. I think he's really good. I think he's an excellent player, man. Yep. Dalton Connect cured a lot of evils, just as Kevin Durant did years and years ago in the furthest team Rick Barnes ever had.
Barnes, yeah.
I actually think the most 2 disappointing teams, and it will not be close, and John's going to love this, will be Tennessee and Arkansas. And there's a reason for that.
I like that. Now,
Florida's good now.
Right?
Florida may be the best team in the league other than Auburn. Florida's really, really, really good.
Did I see this stat that Tennessee hit only 7 of 47 shots in that game at one point?
John, hey, when you went to the church league games, you never went 7 for 47. Now, I know you shot it 40 times.
Oh, ain't no doubt.
But you never went 7 for 40.
And I was making him over Doc NBA and making him love it. I can promise you that.
He couldn't handle it, could he?
Could not handle it. All right, Bart, we've asked this question a couple of times. I'd like to get the thoughts of a former SEC player on what happened in Columbia, South Carolina last night when Nate Oates called a timeout, put his starting 5 on the bench.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's just a message. I mean, it's like, you know what? If y'all didn't show up and ready to play, and I think I missed that part. Like that, what I was listening to Stewart and Passing,
Yeah.
and I was actually was texting with Passing a little bit, and I just got to tell you, man, they're really good, man.
No doubt.
Their broadcast is really good.
Big fans.
It's better than the ones the one I was switching back and forth with. I'll just say that. But I didn't see exactly when that happened. I heard about it. I saw it on Twitter. I mean, I love it. I mean, Nate Oates is not. He understands the importance of being ready to play. Not necessarily as much that game, but for down the road. Alabama's going to be ready to play at home. The fans going to make sure that happens, right? But on the road, Coach Williams did that. I don't know that we ever were deep enough to take all 5 of us out like Alabama is. It definitely happened in high school a couple of times to me against lesser competition, just where the coach is sending a message and he's trying to get a spark. Nate Oates knows his team.
Well, Bart, you mentioned that, in your opinion, Florida may be the best team in the league, them and Auburn. Where does Alabama fit into that?
So right now, here's my top 5, and it could kind of go either way. And this weekend, if State could beat Kentucky, I think that might fluctuate State into top 5. I've got Auburn, Alabama, Florida, Tennessee, and Kentucky. That's my top 5 teams right now. And so it will move up. I don't think the bottom 4 teams all year will change as they are right now. That's actually the 4 I thought would be there. Missouri might get close on that bottom end just because they're so young. But everyone above Missouri. So that gives you what, 13, 14 teams?
Yes.
Everybody's got a shot right now to make the NCAA tournament. So those games like Ole Miss, Georgia, the Ole Miss beating Arkansas, that is a terrible loss for Arkansas. Oklahoma's one of those teams slipping. Their schedule's terrible. And losing that game the way they did last night without Wade Taylor?
Yeah.
I mean, Oklahoma needed to win. Texas A&M wins the game without Wade Taylor. But those are my 5 right now. And I think Alabama is really, really good. But I think Auburn is the best team in the country with the best player in the country on their team. I think Janai Broom's going to win the Naismith Player of the Year award.
He does so many things well, but so many things for the team. I think he leads them in assists. He's leads them in block shots, things like that. When you saw him coming to Auburn 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, from Morehead State, could you envision that possibility that he would be that guy this year by the time he ended up college?
Absolutely not. No. Especially just the interior ability to score the basketball. Like, the game has slowed. Y'all hear me say this all the time. Young kids out there, listen to this. As you get more reps, as you get more games under your belt, as you put the time in, the game's going to slow down for you. So, Barry, when he catches the ball in the post, he's not in a hurry. You know why? Because he's a great passer. He can see over the defense. He understands what the concept where people are going to be. When the game slows down, you're more comfortable. That way he can back down. And people hadn't seen it yet, but maybe 1 or 2 times. Guys, he's got a little back down to where he backs you down with his right hand and then steps off his right foot with a fadeaway left-handed. It's unguardable. And nobody's really seen that yet because he hadn't had to do that.
Elvin Hayes, man.
It is Elvin Hayes. It's absolutely great call. But he steps back out to the 3-point line now too as well. He ain't got to make more than 3 out of 10 of those. That's all you got to do as a big right there. Is just get the fear of them guarding you to open up a high-low for he and Chaney. Now, obviously, you'd like him to make 5 or 6, but Janai Broom's a big. 35% for him. To me, 30% with how many touches he's going to get just to make the shot blocker come out to where your other guys have opportunities down low. It's all cylinders, and that's why he's the second most valuable player to his team in the conference besides Cam Matthews. I think Cam Matthews is so valuable to Mississippi State with everything he does on both ends of the floor and be able to bring the ball up against pressure, not turn the basketball over. Those type guys just give a safety net for all the players. When something breaks down, you always realize that your team leader is going to make a play, and that's who Janai Broom is to me for Auburn.
Yeah, he is. He's a great one. There's no doubt. Looking forward to seeing him play the remainder of this season and into postseason. All right, Bart, we ask you this every time we have you on each and every week. Who's a team outside the league we need to keep an eye on?
Well, I think it's so early right now that we can't. But, guys, it's South Alabama. I mean, it is South Barry. It's rivalry game Saturday. So Barry, don't let me turn into a Jag now. It's like, you're going to have to talk me down. But I'm astonished. I saw it the second game of the year. He's playing zone 40 minutes, and nobody plays against the zone. And even if you do play against the zone, this is just like playing Army when you got to play against the option. It's the same thing. You don't see it much. South Alabama turn the ball over. They're number like 2 or 3, or number 1 in the conference, but I think they're like now it's like 5 or 6 in the country. Assist turnover ratio, turning people over, turning into points. They're really good in transition. And Barry, you've seen a little bit of the league. I know we'll both see more. I think the Sun Belt is not as strong or top heavy. Let me say it's not as top heavy with like an App State or James Madison like you had last year. So to me, right now, the team around the country playing Old Dominion tonight, I've got to rehabilitate my voice and get over there. But John, it's South Alabama. Man. I mean, it's legit. This is not just, Barry knows this conference. He knows how hard it is to go on the road. South Alabama went on the road for their second and third game and won by 30. I mean, that is just not you just don't see that a lot, do you?
And they got I'm anxious to see Miles Corey play. I'm looking forward to watching him. He's been a big addition.
I'm going to tell you something about him, Barry, that this is a true opinion. I said this on TV. I do not think that he would be the elite player right now that he is if you still had the charge rule. Because when this kid, it's like John Longshore getting out there in the open court and going downhill. Barry, he's as fast with 2 dribbles from 3/4 court, half court to the rim. Maybe as any player I've seen in person in a long time.
Bart, I'm glad you brought up the charge rule because I think they needed to do it the other way around. I mean, I always had a problem when they called the charge on me when I was dribbling to the hole. I'm going, whoa.
They're just too little, John. They was just too little. All that physicality you was bringing.
Yeah.
One little chicken wing bust somebody's head against the side of the wall, John. You know how strong you are. Come on.
Oh, man.
Oh, geez.
Always great stuff. Bart,
one other thing. Look, did you lose my number? I haven't got that 9:30 text for some West Coast game that's on Fox Sports 1 you need for me to be checking out.
Well, I hadn't actually gotten to that point yet,
okay.
John.
Don't forget about me.
Well, I'm not, but what's kind of happening now is, and I got to get back on it, but I do South Alabama home games, and then I've got my day job. But I'm traveling watching Mississippi State this year, man.
Sure, awesome.
My dogs passed away this year, so my I guess lack of responsibility has gone up, and so I'm gonna get out of the house a little bit. I'm gonna go to Columbia. I'm gonna go to Norman. Went to Arizona. Went to Nashville. But you can write it down. It is now. You will get one you'll get one tonight. How about that?
There we go.
Tonight. We'll start it out tonight, man.
Do it.
Outstanding. Appreciate it very much.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Can our viewers and listeners follow you? Where are you?
Yeah, so I'm still on Pressbox Radio from 7 to 9 every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, pressboxradio.com, at bheich22 on Twitter, and then you can hear me tonight on ESPN Plus doing the South Alabama Old Dominion game. Should be a good one, and I look forward to seeing you, Barry McKnight, on Saturday.
Looking forward to it for sure. That is Bart Heish joining us here today. Always a pleasure. Appreciate you, Bart.
Thanks, guys.
All right, buddy. Talk to you next week. Bart Heish on our City of Montgomery guest hotline, our resident basketball expert here. Boy, he has got some stories and some knowledge, knows the game. There's no doubt. So, Barry, I didn't realize Troy is at South Oh, this
No, Troy's
weekend?
at South Alabama next weekend.
Next
I
week,
want to correct
okay.
him up there. We have Arkansas State. We have Texas State tonight. I've got that on ESPN Plus, 6 o'clock. And then Arkansas State comes in this weekend. I think it's a
did see
3:30
an
start time.
article about South Alabama. I forgot where I saw it, but yeah, I mean, they seem to be lighting it up.
Yeah, they lost so much from last year. And I mean, they're picked down at the bottom of the league. And right now, South Alabama and Troy are the only undefeated teams in Sun Belt Conference play. That's a good call from
Yeah.
him. Let's take a break.
Let's do it.
Maybe feeling a little wheelish when we come back.
Yeah,
We'll let you
I
know.
can tell Chris is getting anxious. And Bob from Pike Road's checked in today. So only person we're missing is Danny from Margaritaville.
Boy, that's good to see Bob's name on our chat
Yeah.
line. I was starting to be worried. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. And for us, that has meant Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry.
Well, it certainly has. And Mary Ann joining us here this morning from Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry, 8163 Vaughn Road in Pepper Tree. And Mary Ann here today to tell us something very special about the new Miss America, who was also Miss Alabama. And Marguerite's has always had a unique affiliation with Miss Alabama. And now, as I mentioned, Miss America. Hey, Mary Ann, how are you today?
Hey, good morning. Yeah, it's amazing. I definitely wanted to hop on this morning and let you guys know, the listeners out there, you can seem really smart to your wives, girlfriends, whatever, if you realize that, hey, you know what, honey, Miss America, she's Miss Alabama. So that's a little tidbit out there to prove that you've been watching something other than football for the past few days. I know that it's been surrounding our lives here in Troy. And so Miss Alabama, or she's Miss America now, Abby Stockard, is going to begin her reign. And she is wearing a custom Marguerite's Miss Alabama necklace. We've been affiliated with the Miss Alabama organization for years, and probably close to 15. It was something Nan Tenenbaum is the sponsor. And I worked with her through my affiliation with the Miss Alabama organization. And so we carried it over because Lyle and Marguerite's, we really do make it. We thought it would be something really special to give a beautiful diamond necklace in 14 karat white gold to the reigning Miss Alabama at the beginning of her reign. I go every June or July to hand and to give the necklace. And this year we're just so excited that the Miss Alabama necklace is going to be making its rounds throughout the United States because Abby Stockard is Miss America.
That's a beautiful thing. She's from Vestavia Hills. She goes to school at Auburn. She led a field of 10 finalists and got the award yesterday. It's no surprise to me, Marianne, that out of those 10 finalists, 5 of them were from southern states. The South just has the prettiest women in America. Am I right?
We agree. So, yeah, that's why SEC schools are booming, because these guys, they want to go where the pretty girls are.
They do.
Who wants to be in the cold in the Ivy Leagues? Come to the SEC or the Sun Belt.
There you go.
Yeah, you're exact. So, Marianne, can our viewers and listeners come by Marguerite's and get that necklace, that similar necklace?
100% they can. We've got the castings ready to go. I don't know if it was just sending good vibes Abby's way, but we are fully stocked on those mountings and, of course, beautiful Marguerite's quality diamonds. So you can come and get the special beauty queen in your life a necklace. And it's never too early to be thinking about Valentine's Day, because it's right.
That's right.
Well, I was going to ask about that, but I did want to ask this in closing, Marianne. Last time we talked to you was at the big year-end sale, and you mentioned to us the reason why you have it every year is to clear the cases for new jewelry for 2025. I trust that everybody needs to come out there and take a look, because there's plenty of new items in the jewelry cases at Marguerite's.
Most definitely. Our jeweler is currently working on those pieces. We're on a bit of a sabbatical, but we're still available to take calls. If you have something pressing or an anniversary or birthday that you forgot, that we do take a little bit of a break. We're available via text and appointment. So 334-270-0074. And you can reach out to us, and we're happy to help you with that need. But yes, our jeweler is busy restocking those cases because it was our biggest sale to date. I
Oh boy.
looked around when we were putting up jewelry and I was just like, we are not going to have enough to start this new year. I hope our jeweler is busy. So lucky for us, he is.
Outstanding. Marianne, thank you so much. That's exciting news, and we look forward to talking about it all week. Great stuff. Thank you so
Sounds
much.
great. Thanks, guys.
Thank
All
you
right.
very
Thank
much.
you, man.
Marar Exquisite Jewelry is at Pepper Tree Center right next to Chappie's Deli, 8163 Vaughn Road in Montgomery, Alabama. And
Okay, here we are back at it. Great stuff from Marianne, from Mark Reach. Glad she could join us again to talk about all the great stuff going out there. And, of course, Miss Alabama now, Miss America. That is great, great stuff. All right, the wheel. Chris the Bammer. He wanting to know what's on the wheel today. So we're going to load up the Victoryland 777 topic wheel, and we're going to spin it. And not as many topics today, but hey, it's quality over quantity today, Barry. That's our theme.
Yes.
So let's spin it. See what comes up.
Could be anything.
It could be. You never know. Round and round she goes. Okay, semi number one. Of course, this is tonight.
Yep.
Is the first game of the semifinals of the college football playoff. Chris the Bammer must have missed it earlier. My predictions, I'll go ahead and give them to you real quick. I like Penn State. They're an underdog in this game, believe it or not. And I love Notre Dame, the discipline, play good football, mistake-free, but I just think they kind of been living on the edge a little bit. You know, the fumbles in opportune places, kickoff returns for touchdowns. I just don't think you can rely on that. I think Penn State's going to be too much for them, but it's a great story. And then I like Ohio State tomorrow. I think Texas. I've seen some chinks in that team throughout the season. We saw what Georgia did to them, and I think Ohio State will do the same thing tomorrow night.
It'll be Sean McDonough, Greg McElroy, Katie George tonight, ESPN 6:30. That is semifinal number one. Tomorrow night, ESPN 6:30. For the other game, the Cotton Bowl, that will be Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, all those guys. You know, that's semi number one.
Semi number one. Okay, let's spin it again. Load it up. See what we got left on the Victoryland 777 topic wheel. And oh boy, I just let you in on this tomorrow. I do have some previewed information that the Phantom will be on the program tomorrow from Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Prattville. And he will be going over each and every one of the NFL wildcard games, except the game on Monday. Because we might talk about that one on Monday.
Yeah. Tonight begins the first of 5 straight days of really, really important postseason football. The playoffs begin with a wild card Saturday at 3:30 CBS. Chargers and the Texans from Houston. 7 o'clock Saturday night. John's already griping about this. Can you imagine Robbie's frame of mind? Having to go to Amazon Prime to watch the Steelers season come to a close against the Baltimore Ravens? He ain't going to be happy.
Barry, I did not think about that. That is going to be difficult for Robbie.
Yeah, if anybody is a friend of Robbie's and has Amazon Prime, get in touch with him because he's probably going to be knocking at your door. Noon on Sunday, Broncos and the Bills from Buffalo, bound to be snowy as heck.
No kidding.
And the Packers and the Eagles Sunday afternoon at 3:30 on Fox from Philly, where the Eagles are a 4.5-point favorite.
And I believe Sunday night on NBC, the Commanders and the Bucks.
Yeah, I was mindful of your comment about Monday night. Yes, Sunday night, football night in America, 7 o'clock Sunday, NBC, Commanders and the Buccaneers from Tampa.
Yeah.
And Tampa Bay is a 3-point favorite there.
All right. A couple more topics on the Victoryland 777 topic wheel where you can be a winner too at Victoryland. Let's spin it, Gurn. 2 more topics on the panel. What will come up next? I got to put the specs on to even see it. And it is the Trojans. And yeah, we did get that. We were talking a little bit about South Alabama, but that game's a little bit further down the road. There's other business that needs to be taken care of before the Jags pop up on the schedule.
Yep. 6 o'clock tonight, Texas State, Trojan Arena. The first place Troy Trojans try to win their 6th game in a row They'll take on Texas State tonight at 6. Buy one, get one free tickets. Students are still on break, so there may be some extras. Those buy one, get one free ticket opportunities available for general admission, reserved, and club tickets in advance by going to TroyTrojans.com. Plus, military appreciation, free admission for all active, retired, and reserve members of the military. All you got to do is when you get to the Trojan Arena box office, just flash a military ID, and you're good to go.
That's simple.
6 o'clock tonight.
Awesome. Looking forward to that. All right, as they do in the NFL, when the clock runs out and you score, you still got to kick the extra point. So we got to spin the wheel just to make it official. One more category, spin it just to say that we did, Gern, and it will land on SEC Nets. You see how I changed it and I didn't use hoops?
It's not hoops.
Yeah.
For John, it's either hoops or hardwood. Right now in the SEC, they have wrapped up the midweek stuff. Alabama wins last night by 20 at South Carolina. Auburn wins by 5 on Tuesday at Texas. Both of them play next this weekend. And again, both of them play on the road. Auburn at South Carolina, noon on Saturday on the SEC Network. Feature game for Alabama, Texas A&M. That's 7 o'clock Saturday night is the feature game on ESPN. Alabama number 5, Texas A&M is number 10. Both of those teams are 13-2 overall.
Yeah, top 10 matchup. Tough trip on the road for the Tide. Every team in action, Barry. Full slate of SEC games on Saturday. We'll go over those more in detail tomorrow to get you ready for SEC basketball on Saturday. But that's Auburn and Alabama. But there are some other good games in the league as well.
Yes.
And we'll get to that as well. Okay, I couldn't figure out what was going on the chat line, but now I figured it out. Obviously, it is Jimmy Carter's funeral in D.C. because Chris the Bammer and Theodis are telling us about everybody that's shaking hands.
Yeah,
and,
John.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah,
now. Okay,
John Dent is Pence and Trump. Trump is shaking hands with Al Gore and Mike Pence and all that kind of stuff. And
it says Bo is sitting next to Trump, like Bo Jackson.
Bo, B-O, Barack Obama. Okay.
Okay. I'm thinking Bo. Is Bo Jackson
Come on,
there?
guys. Bo Nix?
Man,
really? I thought he's got a playoff game this weekend. Okay. Sometimes
All right.
it takes us a moment to figure you guys out. And I'm sure
figure it out. No doubt.
I'm sure that's also the other way around as well. Many thanks to Jason Caldwell, AuburnUndercover.com for being a part of the program. Same thing with Rodney Orr, TiderInsider.com, and Bart Heish, our basketball guru, joining us. Very energetic show today, I thought, John.
That's right, Barry. Tomorrow, a lot of guests as well. Reed Ingram scheduled to join us in the first hour. The Phantom to kick off hour number 2. Ralph Michaels from Wager Talk and the Gold Sheet. Tomorrow, we're broadcasting live from Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Prattville, so we're looking forward to that. And looking forward to your chats and your emails and your input as well on the program. Barry, as you like to tell everybody, in association with Yellowhammer News, you can check it out. Of course, you can watch us at yellowhammernews.com. And there's a write-up every afternoon about our program with some video content. Of course, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, so many ways for you to check us out. And when you do, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We'd really appreciate it.
In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.